Caitlin Clark officially done for the 2025 WNBA season, as she and the Fever announced on social media. The Fever and Clark saying that she tried to get back on the floor. It appears that she just ran out of time, not able to get enough confidence back in her body as the season wraps up and the playoffs are likely about to begin for Indiana.
Caitlin Clark is done for the season, and it's not just her loss. It's the WNBA's nightmare. Fans got strung along with cryptic updates, ticket sales spiked on the hope of her return, and now refunds are flooding in. How did the league's golden goose wind up sidelined by what feels more like mismanagement than misfortune? And why did the Fever and WNBA keep selling optimism while Clark's body was clearly breaking down?
Caitlin Clark, out for the remainder of the 2025 season, something we all think we knew was coming after what Stephanie White said earlier today. We couldn't be too sure until we see it for ourselves. And with this announcement from the GOAT's mouth herself, Caitlin Clark won't be returning this season, nor if the Indiana Fever make the playoffs.
Clark's sophomore season unraveled almost immediately, morphing into an injury saga no one wanted to face. The timeline now looks damning. May brought quad tightness, then a left quad strain just 4 games in. By June, a groin strain joined the list. July 15th delivered the breaking point, a right groin injury that ended her year. And August twisted the knife with a bone bruise in her ankle during rehab. What was meant to be her breakout season collapsed into shutdown after shutdown, leaving her with just 13 games played.
I mean, it's a gut punch that basically encompasses an entire season of them. The Fever have lost so many players to injury, but obviously none bigger than Clark. And there was such a weight for this second season after her magnificent rookie season. And then, the anticipation of her possibly coming back, only for that not to happen, takes a lot of air out of the room, obviously takes a lot of energy out of the fans, and is a devastating blow for not just the Fever and the WNBA.
Every stop on that injury timeline came with frustration. The Fever kept slapping day to day on her status, a phrase that sold optimism, tickets, and false hope. But when she returned, it was obvious. Limited minutes, shaky efficiency, and a rhythm that never came. Fans noticed. Reporters questioned whether she was rushed back, even as coach Stephanie White framed the West Coast trip as an evaluation. Her own admission that Clark hadn't done much contact work said it all. She was nowhere near 100%.
Well, because Caitlin Clark fans, I want to say Fever fans, but at this point, so many of you, including myself, has lost faith in everybody involved in leadership and in management and coaching. We've just sort of, I got to tell you, I don't have any more real good things to say about the Fever organization as of now, because I will contend that they have known this was going to happen and they did not want to tell anybody.
That's where the overcompensation fears kicked in. Heal one spot halfway, and the strain just shifts elsewhere, like patching a leaky pipe without fixing the pressure. Clark's groin injury was the classic spillover from her quad, and the cycle rolled on. Yet the messaging stayed relentlessly upbeat. Fans saw her jogging, shooting, laughing with teammates, and assumed she was nearly back. Local outlets echoed the hype, but specialists knew better. Quad and groin injuries linger, and quick returns rarely stick. The optimism only fueled bigger letdowns each time another setback hit.
Clark, a 2-time All-Star and the 2024 WNBA Rookie of the Year, has been sidelined suffering a right groin injury during the Fever's 87-77 win over the Connecticut Sun on July 15th. If you guys remember that game, Caitlin Clark put the team on her back in the winding minutes to give the Indiana Fever that lead. Clark also suffered a bone bruise at a later date during her recovery process.
July 15th was the breaking point. In the final minute, Clark went down with a right groin injury, and her season was over. The pattern snapped into focus. Months of rehab and half comebacks that never let her body truly reset. The ankle bruise that followed in rehab was insult to injury, proof of how fragile things had gotten. By then, fans stopped buying the optimistic updates and realized she'd been grinding through a compromised season from the start.
Kaylin has worked so hard throughout this time, doing everything possible to recover and return to the court, but ultimately, time is not on our side, said Indiana Fever COO and GM Amber Cox. While we wait, while we will continue working with Kaylin and provide her with every resource we have available, there is not enough time left in our season for her to safely return, and her long-term health and well-being remains our top priority. We are looking forward to having her back at full strength to start the 2026 season. Clark appeared in 13 games during the regular season, averaging 16.5 points, 8.8 assists, and 5 rebounds per game, while helping lead the team to the 2025 WNBA Commissioners.
Clark's own words erased any illusions. She admitted she spent every day in the gym chasing a return, and when asked how she felt, said, "Disappointed isn't a big enough word." That honesty landed harder than any press release. While the narrative painted her as nearly fine, she was grinding through setbacks that never let her heal. In the end, the truth was blunt. Injuries stacked up, sidelined her, and left the Fever without the one player who had been reshaping the league in real time.
And this is what Caitlin wrote. I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with a singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling. I want to thank everyone who had my back through all the uncertainty. This has been incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there is good. The way fans continue to show up for me in the Fever brought me so much joy and important perspective. I'm so proud of how this team has only gotten stronger through the adversity this year. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot in the playoffs.
And then came the bigger question. As Clark's injuries piled up, fans noticed the pounding she took every game. The league hyped her as the face of women's basketball, but her body cracked under nonstop contact. Why wasn't anyone protecting her? Frustration shifted from the injuries to the officiating and the league's handling of its brightest star. This became a story of on-court bullying, refs under fire, and the WNBA's gamble with its golden goose. Heavy hits kept coming, whistles didn't, and every national broadcast seemed to spark the same outcry. Why was the league's biggest star left to take so much punishment?
You gave them every chance to win. If you look at this in slow motion, you can see Caitlin Clark clearly smiling in confusion. Smiling in, did that really just happen? Smiling in, you sly W. And she says, she points at the other team, you gave them every chance to win. Oh, goodness gracious. Caitlin Clark, she's chomping at the bits to start talking to these referees during the game.
The WNBA is in another firestorm, and Caitlin Clark with Sydney Colson aren't holding back. They're done with rigged calls, double standards, and a league more focused on silencing stars than protecting them. What should have been a Fever celebration instead became proof the WNBA's credibility is cracking fast.
This is kind of where everything started at with Sydney Colson. So this is the timeline here. Let me get this pulled up here. This is interesting. I didn't know she said all that today. Okay, this is interesting here. She started off last night by saying at a certain point in the league's existence, I'm going to need for Kelsey Mitchell to get the same whistle as each other stars. The way she gets assaulted is insane, actually. And I've considered roping my sister in it to have off his first charges.
Indiana edged the Sparks 76-75, a finish that should have lit up the Fever locker room. Instead, the buzz wasn't about the win, It was the latest case of lopsided officiating that left players, fans, and analysts baffled.
Who paying you, ref? Who you betting on? And mind you, there was some problems going on with the shot clock throughout the game. But man, there is no way. Right at the end of the game, you should be on top of it. You telling me you're not paying attention to when some hands touch that ball? Come on, man. And then to reward them with the timeout, like, fam, that's crazy work.
Second quarter, Kelsey Mitchell sliced to the rim, blew past her defender, then got flat out yanked mid-drive. Not bumped, yanked. Everyone saw it, but the refs swallowed their whistles. Mitchell still finished the layup, but the damage was done, and the Fever bench erupted.
There is one referee. We definitely have to check for betting slips for this guy right here. I think his name is like Agun Agazi, because it sure seemed like he did not want to let the Fever take away this win, making the last 1.9 seconds last almost 5 minutes. He was just like letting them call a reset timeout, and then he was like, no, it's a foul. But I think the worst part about that 1.9 seconds was when 0.4 seconds was left on the clock, and Kelsey Mitchell was at the free throw line. She was trying to miss on purpose because that takes time off of the clock, because if she would have made it in, they would have been able to inbound and possibly do a tip in. But this guy allowed a reset timeout. When do you allow a reset timeout with 0.4 seconds?
Injured but locked in, Caitlin Clark erupted from the sideline, arms waving, yelling, "Call it!" Her fire sparked Lexi Hull, who joined in. The ref's response? A tech on Hull. So, the foul got ignored, the offender kept playing, and the teammate who protested took the hit. If that's not rigging, what is?
That's what everybody saw in that game. Like, it didn't really matter what was going on. We all knew what was happening. We all knew what was happening there. And the game was being given. The game was absolutely being given to the Sparks. They were giving the Sparks every single chance possible to go and win that game. Even though realistically, did they deserve to win that game? Hell no. Hell no. They did not. And I mean that. They did not deserve to win that.
The Fever weren't alone in outrage. From her couch, ACL sidelined, Sydney Colson snapped and fired off a tweet that blew up. I'll need Kelsey Mitchell to get the same whistle as other stars. The way she gets assaulted is insane, actually, and I've considered roping my sister in to press charges.
But Kelsey Mitchell's whistle last night was horrific. And Kelsey drove to the basket a lot. She is the type of person that just like goes through a lot of defenders, and she wasn't getting a call. This really was not her game. She was not hitting it from the three whatsoever, but everyone is entitled to having a bad game here and there, and I think she was kind of due for one because of the tear that she's been on lately. Even Sid Colson took to Twitter to talk about it, saying, at a certain point in the league's existence, I'm gonna need Kelsey Mitchell to get the same whistle as other stars. The way she gets assaulted is insane, actually.
That wasn't just a joke. Colson voiced what Fever fans have shouted for months. This isn't sloppy officiating, it's systematic targeting. Indiana gets hacked, then punished for protesting. Her furious, sarcastic tweet struck a nerve, going viral as fans said, "Finally!" Caitlin Clark chimed in too, dropping a perfect 6-word dagger. Careful, you're going to get fined. Because in the WNBA, you can get mauled on the court, but criticize refs, and you're the one hunted.
Be careful, you're going to get fined. Then Sydney Colson said, I can't get no more fine. So Lynn Dunn stated, agree, I will help pay the fine. So that's what Lynn Dunn stated yesterday about the fines. And Caitlin Clark said, love it. Everyone listen to Lynn. So it's definitely a lot of exchange going back and forth there. That's crazy.
Just ask Sophie Cunningham, the league's cautionary tale on speaking truth about refs. She's been fined 3 times. $500 for lip-syncing a TikTok mocking officials, $1,500 for calling out inconsistency on her podcast, and another hit for saying what everyone saw, that Paige Buchers got coddled while Fever guards like Mitchell took constant hits with no calls.
Like, I love Paige to death. Do not get me wrong. I think, I think she's a hell of a player and, would love to play with her one day. But those refs were giving her every freaking whistle last night. Like, you literally couldn't touch her. And that's so annoying to me. Like, and if you're going to do that, then give it to our guards. Like, I just hate the inconsistency.
Like, when whistles are player-focused, that's, I think that's a huge problem. But then again, I don't know what sport that doesn't exist. But she's a rookie. She shouldn't get whistles as a rookie.
Here's the message. Under Kathy Engelbert, the WNBA isn't protecting players. It's fining them into silence. Call it what it is, a protection racket. Take the abuse or pay up. Coulson nailed it with her reply to Clark. I can't get no more fine. Translation, she's maxed out by a corrupt system. When stars joke about bankruptcy for demanding fairness, it's no joke. This isn't one missed call. It's a season-long pattern. Fever players hacked, shoved, ignored, then punished for protesting. While Caitlin Clark, the league's biggest draw, takes the hits unprotected. And that leaves one question hanging. How long can fans keep buying in?
But, it is another situation than pretending like Caitlin Clark doesn't exist.
They want to make the trajectory look like it's going up and not down. It's whatever, man. We see what's going on.
They're trying to make it so that the data looks as favorable as possible.
ESPN didn't want to show the ratings were down from WNBA All-Star Game because Caitlin Clark didn't play, so they just used the 2023 numbers instead.
ESPN lying.
ESPN got exposed for twisting the truth about WNBA All-Star ratings to cover up the fallout from Caitlin Clark's absence. The cover-up was so sloppy, even their own journalists called it out. After the 2025 game dropped 36% in ratings, from 3.44 million in 2024 to 2.2 million, ESPN ignored last year's record and instead compared it to 2023 to fake growth.
Yes, you guys heard me correctly. The numbers are in. And just like I told you, there was a boycott.
You got to understand, these numbers, they did 2 million viewers. That's up from 2023. 2023 was a little over 900,000. So it is up. So the numbers are going up. But compared to last year, it fell by 40%.
Oh, so they going to try to spin it. Okay, it could be the second most watched of all time. Of course, it's going to be that, but compared to last year, you still down 36%.
What makes ESPN's spin worse is the game was in Caitlin Clark's home arena, Indianapolis. It was meant to be a major WNBA celebration, the league's biggest stage in its biggest star's city. But instead of triumph, it became a ratings disaster so bad, ESPN tried to fake a success story.
They're just skewing data.
So it's up 158% compared to 23. What happened to 24? Y'all just gonna skip over 24? What?
Thing is, this could be disingenuous too. That's the bad side of it, because for some reason they have a thing where they want to compare everything without Caitlin. They're like, oh, well, she's an anomaly, so we could compare these numbers to 2023 and show you that without Caitlin, it's growing.
This is very similar to the WNBA draft, comparing it to 2023. Very similar to how they are presenting this graph.
The mess began on July 15th when Clark aggravated a groin issue during Indiana's win over Connecticut. Hours after she announced she'd skip All-Star Weekend, ticket prices crashed 48%, from $121 to $64. Fans made it clear, no Caitlin Clark, no interest. This wasn't a small dip. It exposed how reliant the WNBA is on a 23-year-old. It's striking, as Clark missed 10 games this season after never missing one in college or her rookie year. Can networks be trusted when they have money in the leagues they cover?
So for all the people that thought that it wasn't a boycott against this All-Star game, it was, bro. People was just DMing me, telling me that they weren't going to look at it. People was telling me that they refunded their tickets. I was even supposed to be there, and I decided not to go because of the things with the referees and the WNBA disrespecting Caitlyn.
1,250,000 viewers, woof, out of existence. No Caitlin Clark, not tuning in.
ESPN's sleight of hand is clear in how they framed their historic rating success. They didn't just skip 2024, they picked 2023 data. Before Clark went pro and when the WNBA drew little attention. Instead of admitting ratings dropped by over 1 million, ESPN promoted a misleading stat that 2025 was up 158% from 2 years ago. It wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated PR move to distract from the fallout of Clark's absence.
So all of you guys can sit there and say, oh, you guys are just trying to uplift one player. Oh, the league is more than one. I agree, the league is more than one player. It's more than one good basketball player. But is there more than one player that moves the tide? No. We just have to be honest. It's okay.
What gives it away is ESPN's sudden shift in tone. All season, they praised Clark for boosting growth and selling out arenas. But when the All-Star game flopped without her, they claimed no single player matters. They pointed to Friday's Skills Challenge, getting 1.3 million viewers, up 89% from last year, but left out that the jump came from format changes and prime time slots, not a rise in league interest. The boost wasn't about Reese, Wilson, or others. It was fans still hoping Clark might show.
There is fans that are just Caitlin Clark fans. I said this yesterday. If Caitlin Clark was to lead to go to New York or any other damn team, expect significant impact in the Indiana Fever viewership, bro. People might tune in for that first season without Caitlin if she was to leave, but after that, it is over with.
There was plenty of people I saw online who said, yo, Caitlin Clark not playing. Oh, she's hurt and they don't want to call fouls. Okay, I'm not giving them a view. I'm not going to watch. There was plenty of people that boycotted watching this WNBA All-Star.
The fallout went beyond TV. Clark's All-Star exit set off a domino effect across the WNBA's business. Ticket sales, merch, and sponsorship values all took a hit. The market reacted like it lost its center. ESPN's spin couldn't hide what fans saw. The 48% ticket price drop wasn't minor. It was a clear message from fans who paid to see Caitlin Clark and didn't care about her replacements.
You can see when Caitlin doesn't play, it happens. And how are we meant to know that if Caitlin ends up missing a year, Caitlin's gone, that all those fans don't just leave again?
They know they need Caitlin Clark to grow this league, man.
It wasn't just empty seats. Social media was flooded with fan cancellations. People shared scrapped trips, resold tickets, and skipped the broadcast. The WNBA didn't just lose viewers, it lost momentum. This wasn't fringe, it was a visible fan boycott ESPN tried to bury by inflating numbers to keep sponsors from panicking over a WNBA without its star.
Why not just not put up 153, just say 2.2 million average viewers, and then just say second most watched All-Star game ever behind 2024, which is fine. You don't even have to say how down bad it is. It's a PR page.
Instead of trying to down Caitlin Clark and diminish her to the level that other people may be at, why don't you promote the other people alongside of Caitlin Clark's greatness?
The financial fallout from Clark's injury hit more than the arena. It rippled through Indianapolis. Hotels, restaurants, and shops prepared for a Clark-driven tourism boost, even stocking up on fever gear. But once she was out, crowds shrank, momentum stalled, and ESPN ignored the economic impact, focusing on selective stats. Her absence didn't just show her value, it exposed a league-wide void. Nafisa Collier scored 36 and won MVP, but it barely registered. No viewership surge, no buzz. The WNBA hasn't built another star who draws national attention. A failure of branding, not just talent.
Caitlin Clark was in it. We're going to say it's up on non-Caitlin Clark numbers because, Caitlin Clark's just an anomaly. Caitlin Clark's not a player. Caitlin Clark is not relevant to this. Caitlin Clark is an anomaly.
Oh, y'all are trying to straddle the fence. We want your money, but we don't want you. Which one is it? Which one is it? We want the viewership, but we only want viewership from certain people's fans. We want the ratings up, but we don't want these type of no. Do you want it or not? You got to accept what comes with everything. The good, the bad, the ugly.
The backlash to ESPN's spin came fast. Journalist Christine Brennan called out their framing, questioning why they promoted historic ratings despite a major drop from last year. Her viral tweet exposed ESPN's deception. It wasn't just fans, it was respected media voices drawing the line. Then Austin Karp of Sports Business Journal added key context ESPN ignored. Clark drives numbers, and without her, they tank. He showed a clear pattern of declines tied to her absence, proving the WNBA's reliance on her and ESPN's choice to cover it up.
Now, many other people stated that, you know what, it was sold out. It was not a boycott. Well, you know the old saying, men lie, women lie, and the numbers don't. This is a case of the numbers not lying.
By comparing this year's All-Star numbers to 2023, ESPN admitted what they won't say outright. There's a pre-Clark and post-Clark WNBA. These are different worlds in fan interest and commercial value. Using 2023, when Clark was in college and viewership was low, was a deliberate attempt to hide this year's collapse. It highlights how the league's visibility and finances hinge on one player, a truth ESPN won't say aloud to sponsors or investors.
I believe that it's everything also leading up to this. I mean, talk about leading up to this. The officiating, I think enough fans had it up to here with the league as a whole. People had it up to here. You got to understand. Caitlin Clark is getting beat up in these games. The refs aren't calling anything. Kathy Engelbert seems to have air between both of her ears. She seems to have pure air floating between her ears. And I think people are fed up.
ESPN spent the season praising Clark for driving viewership and lifting the league until the numbers crashed without her. Then suddenly, star power didn't matter. That flip-flop shatters their entire narrative. If Clark isn't vital, why make her the face of the WNBA? It's a story built on selective truth, and it collapses under its own weight. But this goes beyond image. It hits players in the pocket. Right now, WNBA athletes are fighting for better pay, with TV ratings as a key bargaining chip. Those pay us what you owe us shirts? They weren't fashion. They were a demand for fairness. And ESPN's spin? It didn't just blur the truth. It sabotaged their leverage. By burying the 36% drop, they painted a fake picture of growth. Clark's impact is real. The collapse without her is real. And pretending otherwise doesn't just distort the story, it rewrites the future.
What is it, do you think, about your game that has people just can't wait to see you on the professional level?
I think it's just the style of basketball that I play, but also I think people love the fire and the emotion that I have and the smile I always have on my face. To be honest, I don't get nervous for games because I just know this is fun for me.
Moments after yet another jaw-dropping performance, Caitlin Clark took her seat at the podium, ready for the routine volley of post-game questions. But then, a veteran reporter shattered that rhythm, and for the first time in recent memory, Clark was left without words. What exactly was said, and why can't anyone stop talking about it? Let's break down the reporter's statement that stunned Caitlin Clark into silence. The Indiana Fever had just secured a pivotal 94-87 victory over the Las Vegas Aces at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Clark had led the charge with what many hailed as her finest all-around pro performance yet. 28 points on 11 for 18 shooting, 6 of those buckets from deep, plus 12 assists, 5 rebounds, and only 2 turnovers in a grueling 38 minutes. The win nudged Indiana into playoff territory with just weeks remaining in the regular season. The press room buzzed with energy, cameras clicking, reporters jotting furiously, Clark delivering answers with her signature blend of composure and competitive fire. ESPN's Holly Rowe asked about her growing chemistry with Aaliyah Boston, especially their deadly pick and roll that had carved out 18 points in the paint. Clark smiled. The trust between us is really growing. Aaliyah's been patient with me while I've adjusted to the timing at this level. Tonight felt like we were reading each other's minds. Then Stephen A. Smith, who'd been uncharacteristically silent the whole 15 minutes, caught her eye. Known for his booming voice and unapologetic takes, he was a towering presence even in stillness. "Stephen, go ahead," Clark invited. He rose slowly, the theatrics stripped away, his expression more pensive than performative. The room's energy shifted. This wasn't going to be a typical soundbite. "Caitlin," he began, his tone low and deliberate, "I've been doing this for over 30 years. I've spoken to thousands of athletes in every sport, seen champions rise and teams crumble. I've interviewed legends and those history forgot. I've watched rookies who shocked the world and veterans who faded. But there's one thing I need to ask, something that's been on my mind since I started really watching you this season." The room fell into a heavy, almost cinematic silence. Fingers hovered over keyboards, mid-sentence. Camera operators inched closer. Even the Fever's media crew, poised to wrap things up, froze in place. "You know," Smith began, his voice cutting through the stillness, "I've built my career on being honest, brutally honest. If an athlete falls short, I say it. I don't apologize for holding high standards. That's the job. But watching you this season, how you've handled the weight, the expectations, the leap from college to the pros, it's made me think." He paused, rubbing his face in a way that felt raw, unpolished, human. "There's something I should have said long ago, and honestly, I owe you an apology." Then came the question. How do you keep showing this much grace, this much professionalism, when people like me, especially me, have been unfair? I've been too harsh, too quick to judge, and flat out wrong about your transition to the pro level. I owe it to you and to everyone here to admit that you've proved a lot of us wrong. You deserved better than some of the things I've said. For the first time in her pro career, maybe even since high school, Caitlin Clark had no answer ready. This was the same player who'd stared down roaring Michigan State crowds, thrived under Final Four spotlights, fielded tough questions, and carried the weight of being the most scrutinized rookie in WNBA history. Now, she simply froze. Her mouth opened, then closed. Her hands, once animated, now rested still on the podium. "Wow," she breathed, the words trembling. The confidence that usually wrapped around her like armor seemed to slip. "Stephen, I honestly don't know what to say to that," she admitted softly. "I really don't have words." The silence stretched. Everyone understood they were watching something rare, unscripted, and unfiltered. Even teammates Kelsey Mitchell and Nalissa Smith, halfway to the bus, turned back toward the doorway, sensing the weight of the moment. "I mean," Clark tried again, her voice still unsteady. "You asking me that? You saying that? It means more than you know. Because yeah, it's been tough. The criticism, the constant comparisons to my college numbers. People doubting if I could make the leap from the Big Ten to the WNBA, wondering if the hype was too much." She drew a breath, grounding herself. "But all of that, it fueled me. It made me put in more hours in the gym, watch more film, prove, not just to everyone else, but to myself, that I belong here, that I can be the kind of player and teammate this league needs, that the fans who believe in me weren't wrong." Her eyes lifted, voice steady now. "And hearing you say that, hearing you admit maybe some of it wasn't fair, it's overwhelming, but in the best possible way." Stephen A. Smith nodded slowly, then slipped a folded set of handwritten notes from his jacket. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment remark. It was deliberate, prepared. "There's more I need to say," he began, voice low but steady. "And I need to say it here, out loud, because I've said things before on TV that weren't fair or fully thought through. It's time I own that." He glanced down at the page, his his tone heavy with regret. 3 months ago, on First Take, I called you overhyped. I said the buzz around you was just media spin, especially from ESPN, to boost ratings. I claimed you needed to get through a full WNBA season before earning this kind of spotlight. I questioned whether you were strong enough, fast enough for the pros. I even said your college success didn't guarantee anything here. And while there's a grain of truth in wanting to see a full body of work, the way I said it erased everything you'd already accomplished. At the back of the room, Caitlin's teammates, Aaliyah Boston and Erica Wheeler, had appeared, watching intently as the moment unfolded under the glare of the sports media. But here's what I've learned since then, Smith continued, his voice now gaining strength. You're averaging 19.5 points and 8.4 assists in your rookie year. For perspective, Diana Taurasi had 17 points and 4.4 assists in her first season. Sue Bird, 14.4 points, 5.9 assists. You're delivering one of the greatest rookie seasons we've ever seen. He lifted his eyes to meet Clark's, and in that steady gaze there was no performance, only sincerity. But numbers aren't the whole story. You've brought more attention to women's basketball than we've seen in decades, maybe ever. League attendance is up 48% when your team's on the road. TV ratings for Fever games have tripled. Your jersey sales have jumped over 200%. And beyond all of that, it's the way you lead, the way you credit your teammates, the way you handle pressure, the way you raise the game of everyone around you. His voice grew thick, words almost catching. I was wrong about you, Caitlin. Wrong to doubt if you were ready. Wrong to question if you deserved the attention. I judged you by an outdated standard and failed to see what was right in front of me. You're not just a great rookie. You're changing the game for women's basketball. And for that, I owe you, the league, and my audience an apology. The press room seemed to ignite. Camera shutters clicked furiously, reporters typing as fast as their fingers would move, each trying to capture the moment. Holly Rowe, no stranger to emotional scenes, dabbed at her eyes even as she kept scribbling notes. Adrian Wojnarowski, usually the definition of composure, raised his phone to record. He knew history was happening here. Sue Bird, present as an ESPN analyst, stood and began to clap. The sound spread, first the ESPN crew, then other journalists, then Fever staff in the back. Aaliyah Boston stepped forward to the podium, laying a steadying hand on Clark's shoulder. It was a quiet, wordless show of solidarity, and it seemed to anchor Clark in the middle of a moment she would never forget. Then Caitlin spoke, her voice steady now. Stephen, she began, you don't need to apologize to me. Sports media is supposed to challenge us. It's supposed to be tough, to hold athletes accountable, to ask hard questions. What matters is that you're willing to rethink your position when new facts come along. That takes real strength and honesty. Her gaze swept across the room, locking eyes with reporters, some of whom had been openly critical of her rocky start in the pros. And honestly, she continued, that criticism helped me. It pushed me. It made me work harder, not just to prove something to fans or reporters, but to prove to myself that I belong here, that I can compete, that I can win at this level, that I can handle the jump from college to the pros, and maybe even master it. The conversation shifted. Adrian Wojnarowski, still recording from his seat, raised a hand. Caitlin, he said, going back to what Stephen A. mentioned about rethinking how we cover sports, how do you think the media's approach to women's basketball has changed since you entered the league? And what would you like to see happen next? Clark paused, clearly weighing her words. I think we've definitely gotten more attention, she said. That's amazing. Not just for me, but for the young girls watching, and for the incredible women who've been building this league for years. But more attention also means more pressure, and that's fine, as long as the criticism is fair and based on facts. She glanced back toward Stephen A., who remained standing, listening intently. What I respect about Stephen A. today is that he's showing growth. He's willing to listen and learn. Covering women's sports isn't just about using the same playbook you use for men's sports. This is something different, something meaningful, and it needs to be understood in its own context, with all the unique challenges and opportunities that come with being a woman playing pro basketball in 2025. Rebecca Lobo, seated a few rows back, jumped in. Caitlin, you mentioned using criticism as motivation. How have you managed the pressure of being seen as the face of what many are calling a new era for the WNBA? Clark smiled, her confidence now fully back. That's the thing, she said. I never planned to be the face of anything. And then, just when it seemed the most surprising moment of the day had passed, Stephen A. reached once more into his jacket. This time, he pulled out a small, well-worn piece of paper, its edges soft from being folded and unfolded countless times. Caitlin, he said, his voice quieter now, there's one more thing. The most important thing I came here to share. My daughter plays basketball for her middle school team in New York. She's followed your journey since your junior year at Iowa. And a while back, she asked me to give you something if I ever got the chance to meet you. He rose from his seat, walked to the podium, and placed the folded paper in Clark's hands. She wrote you a letter a few months ago, back when I was being pretty critical about your start in the pros, he said. She made me promise I'd give it to you if I ever met you in person. I've been carrying it to games ever since, just waiting for the right time. Clark accepted the letter with a look of genuine appreciation. She unfolded it slowly, almost reverently, as if she sensed it was more than a typical fan note. Her expression shifted as she read, first curious, then surprised, and finally deeply moved. Her eyes widened, then narrowed as she lingered on certain lines. A warm smile spread across her face, and for a moment it seemed she might tear up. Would you mind if I read part of this out loud? She asked. Smith gave an immediate, encouraging nod. I think this is something everyone should hear, Clark said, clearing her throat before reading in a voice that carried both joy and emotion. By the time she finished, the room was filled with laughter, louder than before, and even a few reporters clapped at Maya's unfiltered, heartfelt words about her dad's basketball opinions. She's definitely not wrong about that last part, Smith quipped, grinning. The room broke into another wave of laughter, the atmosphere now lighter and warmer, transforming the moment from a tense sports media exchange into something far more human, funny, genuine, and unexpectedly touching. So, what's your take on the reporter's unexpected statement that left Caitlin Clark speechless? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
It's going to be a jump. Now here it looked like a jump. There, this looks like a foul to me.
Yeah.
Indiana, and you can see Caitlin saying you were right in front of her.
Caitlin Clark lost it on the refs after Sophie Cunningham got body slammed with no call. It wasn't just a blown whistle, it was a disgrace, exposing everything wrong with WNBA officiating in the Fever's 78-74 win over the Storm.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying that your job is easy, but when it is a simple call right in front of your face multiple times, what are you doing? What are you doing?
What call are you, like, bugged out?
All of them.
Just everything?
Like, it's just like they're just so inconsistent. Like, that's my thing. Like, if you're on the other team and you're going to be finding this shit at me,
yeah,
cool. But let me do it to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like
Consistency
then.
Yeah, like just give, and I think that's players across the league and like new fans across the country. Like everyone's like, what is going on with the refs? And I'm like, I don't know.
Sophie grabbed the rebound and was calmly holding the ball until a Storm player slammed her like it was Sunday Night Football. The ref? Front row seat did nothing. Just stood there like he was watching a backyard barbecue.
Now, am I ever advocating for players to throw other players on the ground? No, like we've seen so much of it throughout the WNBA. He watches this happen right in front of him. There's so much contact on the play and he does nothing. He doesn't blow his whistle. He doesn't stop the play. He doesn't call a foul here.
That's when Caitlin Clark, sidelined for the 7th straight game with a groin injury, finally snapped. She'd had enough.
We have updates and our recovery's going well. You know, it's just, I think for us staying the course and making sure that we're really diligent about each step that we take and that we don't have setbacks and that we're patient with it. I know she wants to be out here on the floor. We want her out here on the floor, but making sure that she's ready is the most important thing. I still don't know how far we are. We're going to take it one step at a time, one day at a time, and go from.
She couldn't hold back. You were right in front of her. Why did you change your mind? Clark shouted, her voice echoing through the arena, saying what every fan was thinking. The incompetence was unreal.
I don't even know what the players can do because the players aren't being protected. And I know so many of the times, like, we're talking about this when it comes to the Indiana Fever, but this does happen across the league. There are many plays that we could pull up. Do you guys have any suggestions on what can actually be done? The coaches get fined when they call them out to the media. Like, this is a top-down issue. This is a commissioner's issue.
This officiating mess isn't just a bad night. It's the WNBA's biggest crisis. And Caitlin Clark's outrage? It's become the rallying cry for a league on the brink.
The officiating in the WNBA, I kind of already went off on it, but it's just atrocious. Really, really bad. Like, there have got to be rules to present overt physicality from dominating the game. And that's what we've got. We've got it in the NBA, we've got it in the WNBA. Nobody wants to call a bunch of fouls, but these officials don't know what a foul is and a foul isn't. They can't even tell when a ball goes out of bounds. Like, you've got 2 million plus people watching some of these games. You have got to have a correctly officiated product, or at least confidently officiated product, and competently officiated product.
WNBA officiating is in freefall, and everyone sees it. Blown calls keep stacking up, while Sophie got fined $500 for a TikTok mocking refs. Meanwhile, real hits go unchecked. Commissioner Engelbert shrugged it off. But this isn't about losing, it's about player safety and respect.
This year, it's not just Caitlin Clark. If you wear that Indiana Fever jersey, consider it done. The refs are not going to be fair, and they are going to cheat and do whatever it takes to do what the higher-ups say.
Even the league's biggest names are fed up. Becky Hammon's been losing it publicly. Kelsey Plum shows up to pressers covered in scratches, asking how she got mauled for 40 minutes and only shot 6 free throws.
And I got scratches on my face, I got scratches on my body, and these guards on the other team get these ticky-tack fouls, and I'm sick of it. I get fouled like that every possession. Ricky gets fouled like that in the post all the time, and they don't call it, and I don't know what else to do. Like, it's really frustrating, though. I'm like, I feel, I mean, there's multiple shots at the end of the game, either go into the third, into the fourth, where they're just coming and swinging, and they just don't call anything.
Amid the chaos, one player rose above it all. Sophie Cunningham. She delivered another clutch performance, proving she's the Fever's go-to star with Caitlin Clark still sidelined.
Gabby Williams storms inside, can't finish it, follows it up into the arms of Bibby, just signed for the rest of the season by Indiana. Been a perfect fit at the stretch 4. Cunningham connects on a 3.
And just look at her frame, 6'6" and super long.
Cunningham connects on another 3.
She lit it up with 17 points on 5 of 6 shooting, including 4 of 5 from deep. And yep, she was the only Fever player to hit a 3 all game.
Big games from Sophie Cunningham, the only player on the Indiana Fever to make her 3 tonight. The Indiana Fever were 4 of 21 from downtown, and Sophie Cunningham hit all 4 of those 3s. 17 points. And the difference between this and the Lynx game, which was Sophie Cunningham's last really good breakout game, this wasn't late. This was, we're struggling offensively. Somebody needs to come through, and Sophie Cunningham came through for us.
Sophie's no fluke. She's been on fire. Dubbed the Blonde Bomber for her clutch 3s, she's thrived since that viral Sun Brawl backing Clark, gaining 800,000 followers and skyrocketing jersey sales.
Sophie the Blonde Bomber, Sophie the Trophy, lit it up again tonight. Man, she has been nothing short of spectacular as of late. 5 of 6 from the floor, 4 of 5 from 3, 3 for 4 from the free throw line, 17 points, 2 assists, 5 rebounds. Sophie, the blonde bomber, has been on fire. Sophie stepped it up in a big time way. That is what you need. When your best player is out, you need the ancillary pieces to step up and deliver. And that is what Sophie Cunningham has been doing for them.
Sophie's rise from enforcer to star has been a season highlight. Now the Fever's most reliable scorer, she's a fan favorite. But even her heroics couldn't stop another near collapse of a 12-point lead.
The Fever did everything possible to blow a game, but still come out with the win. That was a near epic level collapse, folks. Wow, it should have never gotten that close. Lexi Hull, Stephanie White waited till the very last minute to put Hull in on defense. She should have been in there from 2 minutes in. 2.5 minutes in on defense. They could not seem to get a big rebound to save their life, and this almost turned into a disaster.
The Fever were rolling, up 55-42 in the third behind Sophie's hot streak. But the moment they relaxed, everything unraveled. It's like they're allergic to success without Clark. Seattle closed the quarter on a 10-2 run, slicing the lead to 4, and just like that, a sure win turned into a full-blown nail-biter.
The Indiana Fever just almost pushed me to a heart attack. The Indiana Fever nearly blow a 12-point fourth quarter lead. We allow the Seattle Storm to go on an 11-0 run in the fourth quarter. Stephanie White, I keep telling y'all, I don't trust her. I'm sorry. We give up a 11-0 run within the last 4 minutes to let this team cut the lead down to 1.
The fourth was all nerves. Seattle cut it to 73-72 with 3 minutes left, and every Fever fan felt the panic. This team just can't close games, and it's costing them.
Boy, they almost blew it. Nonsensical whistles to stop runs, or how about blowing a whistle to stop the other team's run? Coming out in the second half, I will never back off of this. When you come out in the second half and you start losing leads, that is a coaching issue. I don't care what sport you're in. All right? Because what that tells you is the opposing coach went into the second in the halftime, made adjustments. The other team comes out, and they start figuring it out. Well, it's up to your coach. It's up to your coach to make adjustments against that adjustment.
The Fever seem to forget how to play once the fourth starts. Kelsey Mitchell had a brutal night. 3 for 16, 0 for 8 from 3, like playing piano with oven mitts. Luckily, Aaliyah Boston stepped up big. She dropped 16 points, 12 boards, and a clutch 9-point run that saved the game.
Kelsey Mitchell could not get it going today, and I told y'all she is a roller coaster. You gotta remember, she went off versus the Sky, then she was, 8 for 24, then she had a good game, then she was down again, then last game she was up, this game she's down again at 3 of 16. This is Kelsey Mitchell. She's a roller coaster. She's a roller coaster. She gave you 9 points on 3 of 16, shooting 0 of 8 from 3.
Here's Boston. Boston, good look inside. Howard lays it in. Nobody in the league at 6'4" or taller averages more assists than Aaliyah Boston. Well, you know, what happens off a deflection from a defensive player if it hits the rim? Shot clock still would reset. It doesn't have to be a shot. As Howard somehow spins that in, plus the foul.
Boston's resurgence came right on time. After struggling without Clark, she's finally back to form, dominating the paint, locking in on defense, and giving the Fever hope. With Sophie handling the scoring, Boston's aggression has become one of the few bright spots in a chaotic season.
I mean, AB's been huge for us. She's really been the key. She came into this league predominantly playing on the low block, getting a lot of post touches when she was in college and her rookie year. And then, last year, her first year with Caitlin, playing a lot in the two-man. And then this year, we're asking her to be a facilitator as well. A hub for us on the offensive end of the floor while being more versatile on the defensive end than she probably has ever been. And she's just continued to step up to the challenge and grow and be better. She's really the rock of our team.
Veteran leadership has kept Indiana afloat, and Natasha Howard's been key. She dropped 21 points and became the team's steady anchor amid the chaos. Smart finishes, high IQ, zero ego, just consistent pro-level execution. In a league full of spotlight chasers, Howard's discipline is a rare and needed presence.
Players looking like they need a breather.
Yes.
Cunningham lays it in, going backdoor on Diggins. Well, what happens off a deflection from a defensive player if it hits the rim? Shot clock still would reset. It doesn't have to be a shot. As Howard somehow spins that in, plus the foul.
You see her cutting through the lane. Skylar Diggins is inside, so she's the one left to take the Howard cut. What a tough shot by Natasha Howard.
The Storm had every chance to steal this one, but when it mattered, they crumbled. Skylar Diggins missed 2 wide-open threes, and Gabby Williams' clean look at the buzzer rimmed out. Now 16-13, Seattle's dropped 3 of 4 at home, and with the playoff race tightening, they're running out of time and answers for their late-game collapses.
I'm really proud of you guys. There were so many ways in a close game and in game situation where we grew today that were huge for us, y'all. That will pay dividends. So great job. I'm proud of you guys. Everybody contributed. Everybody came in and gave us a lift. Kels, I know it was a tough shooting day, but the way you facilitated and that one big jumper that you made. Right, we dug in and got stops when we needed to. I mean, big time win, y'all. Big time win.
This was a huge win for Indiana. Now 17th to 12th and 5th in the standings, they own tiebreakers over both Seattle and Vegas, key for the playoff push. Even more impressive? They've won 5 straight without Caitlin Clark and sit 9-7 without her overall. But her return remains a mystery. She showed up in game gear but didn't play, fueling speculation. With tough matchups ahead and playoff spots on the line, every game and every unanswered question matters.